Okay, I gotta switch over my camera angle here, guys. Hold on. Well, actually, get my live chat up. I see Kurt N-Scale and Jupe. What's going on, guys? I did some playing around, and I don't know if I'm gonna switch camera angles here. I want you guys to see something. Can you see that right there? That is the SM57. And what you were just hearing is the four speaker, the four Celestion cabinet way over there. And basically my SM57 is pointing off axis to the cabinet. And there's probably 48 inches there between the microphone and the cabinet. And as you change the elevation of the microphone, even how it's pitched, like right now my arm's pitched it's pitched up and at an angle to the cabinet. Even moving the microphone this way or this way, back and forth to the cabinet, all those little things make a big change in how the microphone actually sounds to the rig. So I've been trying to capture what the amp actually sounds like. That way I can give a good representation of what I hear in the room. I think I played around about 20 minutes with it. That's why we kind of started a little late tonight. I wanted to really concentrate on that. I got a pretty good tone, I think. It's hard, too. I'm in the same room, so even when I put my headphones on and I hear the microphone through the AG08, even though I'm hearing the direct feed from the microphone and the headphones, I still have a room volume on the cabinet. So some of that room sound is coming through the headphones as well. It's not just what I'm hearing from the AG08. So it's kind of hard to know whether what I'm hearing is just the AG08 and how much of the room sound is still going through the headphones that isn't going through the AGO. I'm hearing a mix between what the microphone is giving my ears through the headphones and what the room sound is. So it becomes difficult to get that dialed out. So what are you guys up to today? Anything good? Anything bad? I didn't really get to play too much today. I woke up this morning not feeling well, so I ended up taking some extra aspirin and stuff like that. And I played lazy most of the day, so I ended up sleeping in. So what's everyone been up to? I've been just kind of jamming. Snow blowing. Oh my gosh. How much snow did you get, Kurt? And we got, according to the weather forecast here, it's nothing but rain coming in. But it was pretty chilly last week. We had wintry mixes all week long.
We're supposed to get snow this week.
Well, Linnell said we're supposed to get snow this week. So I don't know. Last time they called from to 8 inches to a foot. We actually only ended up probably getting maybe an inch and a half. So they're doing the exact same thing this time. I think the weather forecast is saying anywhere from 6 inches to a foot again.
David Schultz says your mic is blocking the view of your guitar. It would be nice to see you playing.
Yeah, I know. I kind of tinkered around with that earlier. I can swing the mic out of the way. Um, it'll probably sound funny because it's hooked to the microphone. So next time I play, I can probably swing it over like that. I I don't know how that affects the sound with the microphone way over like that. Plus, when I'm doing keyboards, according to the meters on the computer, I'm still getting the same gain output, but the way the microphone is in here, the way the disc is, it faces this way. So I'm not sure if that would really mess up the sound quality and mute my voice, make me sound muffled or not.
Dean is on.
I see Dean got on, and David, of course. We're trying to be fair here, so we'll give everyone the clap and the hooray. Yeah, let me try one more time. I'll leave the microphone over here. Of course, I'm gonna undo this microphone and just use the SM57, so you guys can hear my new sound here. Let me move this out of the way a little more.
Curtin Scale said you should put the mic above the camera facing down.
So I don't know what you guys think of that. I did tinker with it a little bit. The issue with pretty much doing the live right in the middle of my living room is a lot of channels I've talked to, they have a place that they set up, and they can repeatably set up the mic and do everything the exact same way. And they work out the bugs as they go. So what I might start doing is actually putting little pieces of tape on the floor so I know the mic stand goes there, and get a general idea of the direction that the mic needs to point. So before the live stream, I did actually take the time and move the microphone a little bit. And it's not near as close to the cabinet as it's been the last couple streams. I seem to get pretty good results with a mic away from the cabinet. I know a lot of people like to mic right in front of the cabinet, and I like doing that too. The drawback to doing that is you lose the room ambience. So what I like to do is have the mic right in front of the cabinet and then also have a mic back in the room and try to blend the two. I don't have that luxury right now because I only have one input using the AG 08 Yamaha. I have one for the voice microphone, and then the other microphone is pretty much delegated to the guitar. I guess I could go into my Mackie with two mics and then out to the single channel on the AG08, but trying to get a decent tone just with one microphone and try to capture everything. I moved it back tonight to try to get a little bit better capture of the amp. So what do you guys think of the sound? Dean goes, is that Freedom Rock? Turn it up. Yeah, during, I just did a new review. I don't know if you ever, I know some of you have already watched the review, and I did some newer tones in that. This guitar tone here is pretty much more what I shoot for. I shoot for that, Marshall-ish distortion that everyone likes. You know what's funny about that? I've never owned a Marshall. Um, Never owned a Marshall. I've played through a bunch of Marshalls that bandmates had, modified Marshalls, and then Marshalls that weren't modified. I go listen to bands, and I'm like, man, that Marshall sounds awesome. But I've never personally owned a Marshall. I've always played pretty much the ART SGX 2000. I played a PV Butcher with pedals in front of it before I went to the ART. And then I went to a hybrid setup. I had an Applied Research Technology, I believe it was an SGE Mach 2, and it was a solid state preamplifier. And then I ran that into a Hafler power amp into my four speaker cabinet. Then I went back to tubes. This would have been 91. So I've been playing the ART for that many years. And a lot of people got away from the ART. Some people, didn't like the distortion tones. I was able to get a pretty decent distortion sound out of it. Then other people didn't like the delay and the reverb in it, which I kind of get. It does have what's called the ART artifact. And if you know the ART sound, you can hear it. People go, that's an Applied Research Technology. And it's not, I don't know if it's a bad thing. It just has a sound or a tone that the delay and the reverb creates. It's called an artifact. And it is very distinguishable versus all the other effects in the market, even today. Some people liked it. I've learned how to work around the artifact. It is what it is. So I just, about 6 months ago, maybe 7 months ago, bought the Synergy rack mount unit. And I hadn't really done any reviews using the Synergy. I kept using just the ART. And in the background, what no one saw, I kept puttering with it, changing how the effects loop worked in the Synergy, maybe run the ART and the other stuff through an effects loop. And then, this is why it didn't work, why it took me so long. I tried to use the effects loop in the Synergy to the ART. The problem is I have an effects loop in the ART that went to the AMR and the BBE. So I'm effects looping off an effects loop. So Synergy says that you can hook the preamp up in it's a pretty peculiar way of hooking something up. You plug the guitar into the input of the Synergy, okay? You come out of the effects loop of the Synergy into the input of the ART, okay? Now the effects, there's another cable on the Synergy, okay, on the return. It's kind of weird. I have to go back there and look at it. It uses 3 cables to connect to the ART. Doing it that way, I can still use the effects loop of the ART, just like the Synergy isn't there, into my other 2 pieces. And it still uses the ART output stage to the power amp. So the output stage of the Synergy, okay, is not going to the output. It's still the ART going to the power amp stage. It's a very peculiar way of hooking up a rack mount system. And when I read how to do this, I was like, that's going to blow something up. That just sounds really strange on how the signal path is working. And then when I did it, I was pleasantly surprised that it actually worked pretty well. It does have a drawback though. Since I'm coming in on the input of the ART and I'm using it, I have to look on the back of it. Like you're still using the effects loop out of the ART and the Synergy. Hooking it up this way, my 5-band EQ on front of the ART went from, let's say you've got this much gain when you change your low to high, okay? On your, like I've got low, mid-low, mid-high, high, and presence. Before, when you changed the presence knob or the high or the low, it made a big sweeping difference from one end of the potentiometer to the other. Being hooked up this way, the EQ on the front of the ART does very little. If you're all the way at 0 on the low and you turn it all the way up maximum on the potentiometer, it's like it's only using this much of the potentiometer. You have a very limited sweep. So now what I found, if you look at the EQ on the ART, the presence is all the way off, the high is all the way off, the mid is at 50%, and the low is at about a third. I mean, if I take the Synergy out and I plug directly into the ART, it sounds really strange. It's just the way it's wired. So I've been working on it. I'm going to do a video on this Synergy unit. They make a bunch of different modules. There is one other drawback to it. If I eliminate the ART, I use a stereo setup. The Synergy is not stereo on the output. It has a it has a mono effects loop. Okay, I like running stereo, even though we're running a mono microphone here. In the room, my cabinet is stereo. The left side is left. The other two speakers on the right are my right channel. And I have two different cabinets. If I hook the two different cabinets up and I put them in opposite ends of the room, it really sounds awesome. But you hear the difference just running one 412 cabinet, just splitting it. So what I would have to do is I'd have to buy another Synergy module, okay, just the rack mount module. What I could do, I could pull the Friedman module out and stick in the other SYN2, split my guitar signal into each preamp module. I would have the Friedman on the left and the Sedano on the right, and balance those two signal paths, two different amplifiers, and then run individual mono effects loop, okay, to all my effects, and then return, and then use the output of the Synergy into my power amp. I hate to spend, I think it's $799 just for the rack mount unit without the module. But to test it, I would have to spend $700 just for another module to see if I could do that. If I could do that, I can eliminate the ART and maybe upgrade my effects to a higher bit ratio, a 32-bit or a 64-bit. I'm worried that I'll lose my sound, but something I've come to realize, we all talk about getting a different sound. We want to, all this Vox sounds this way, this Marshall sounds this way, and I like that sound. Then we buy the amp, and the first thing we do, we plug our guitar into it, we start playing around with the EQ, and we adjust it to what we feel sounds good. Okay? And it kind of like are you shooting yourself in the foot when you buy a Vox and you EQ it to sound like your Marshall? I don't know. You guys can leave a comment in there. I found myself doing that a lot. Now, Linnell stuck her head out here, so that means I'm just yakking too much and not paying attention to the chat.
Bryce is on, Jerry White is on, and Nicholas said, what's your goal?
Oh my gosh, there's Nicholas I'm really bad with pronunciations. We're going to say Toraro. I am really bad. I'm sure I butchered that. I don't know if I've seen you comment in the live stream before. Welcome if you're new, and if you're not new, that just means my squirrel brain doesn't recognize you. I always try to say hi to people that I don't necessarily see, or maybe you were just chilling out in the background. Sometimes we have 18 people, and it's usually only 8 or 9 commenting. So welcome, and for everyone that just came in. I see Jerry White came in. Um, we've got Dean, Kurt Inscale. Oh, Bryce. I just scrolled up. I see Bryce. Good to see you, Bryce. Jerry White, Nicholas, and am I missing anybody? We got Jupe, and then David. So,
Nicholas said his last name is pronounced
Todiro.
Toduro.
Toduro. Toduro. I will try my darndest to remember that. But as I tell the significant other, I have a really bad case of OLD. So we'll see.
Vance.
Oh, I always say that's balanced one or balanced one. I'm bad for that.
Get me started and I won't shut up.
Well, here's to that one. Balanced one. And I know you've made comments in many videos, so you've been around pretty much from the beginning. I think we're missing our resident PV expert that used to build PV cabinets at the PV factory.
Jerry Dover.
Yeah, so we're waiting on Mr. Dover to show up. So when he does show up, it's a community thing here. We always pick on him since he used to work at PV. I'm just putting that out. Just pick on him when he does show up. So what do you guys think of the new sound? Does the amp sound like I'm getting better at learning, how to set the thing up? I'm really trying to get better at it, if that makes any sense. When we buy new equipment, we're always saying, well, we want to do this, we want to do that, and then like I said earlier, we end up EQing out the changes that the new equipment does. And I see this more and more, like since I've been doing YouTube, I'll go back and I'll listen to one of my videos and I'll make a change and I'll buy a new piece of equipment. And is there really that much difference? Did I change all the characteristics of that component out to fit my ears? I mean, I do hear the difference between the Sedano and my Friedman preamp. The other week, everyone seemed to really like the Sedano better. But that is all based on how I have the EQ set, if that makes sense. You can detune the Friedman, okay, and get it less edgy. I mean, you can also really crank the gain up on the Sedano and make it more punchy. So, since I've been doing this, I watch other YouTube channels and I look at comments and I'm starting to understand now that how we set the equipment up makes a big impact on the tone that you get. Your speakers make a big impact. Like my one cabinet I'm using tonight has 4 greenbacks on it. And the cabinet I have here has some very rare Celestion Pentas in it. And if you're not familiar with the Celestion Penta, that's because Celestion actually never marketed the Penta. It was directly made for PV for their Penta cabinet, which was a selectable sounded, it was a 140 watt monstrosity. And you could dial in different amps. The way the preamp section was wired in the tube stage, you could go from a Marshall to, a Fender tone to this tone, and you would just switch it back and forth, and it would change the wiring configuration of the preamp stage. They were phenomenal amplifiers.
Jerry White, read his comment.
Jerry White made a comment. Okay, I eliminated a lot of crap and don't need buying a 412 cabs that are more powerful. A 30 watt 412 cab is very difficult. It's very different than a 412 120 watt speaker. Yeah, now that's something that I need to say. My greenbacks are the low wattage greenbacks. I know they make different power levels. And this is something else. And I know this to be true. I used to be a big hi-fi nut. I mean, when I mean hi-fi, I was into hi-fi stereo components. And I had a guy tell me one time, you know, you blow drivers not due to power, but due to distortion. And I was kind of like, whoa, what? And he goes, well, I can run 4 times the amount of power in a driver versus its rating if it's clean. And he used to have this little 5 watt Radio Shack speaker, and he would throw 50 watts of power in it. From an it was NAD, I believe, NAD power amp. He had a NAD, a Hafler, and some other high end power amplifier. And the speaker just sat there like nothing. It was a little 5 watt driver, and he's throwing 50 watts at it. And he used that as a demonstration versus speaker wattage. You got to understand when they test these drivers, they're testing it's 1 watt per 1 meter. And the efficiency of the amplifier, the cables, the plugs, everything comes into effect on that. I don't remember what the wattage of these greenbacks are, but my power amp is a 50 watt. I have not used a high powered amplifier in 30 years. I guess it would have been, well, maybe a little less than that, 25 years. Because I ran a Hafler DH500. I know, really funny. I ran a Hafler DH500 on my guitar rig. And what I would do is I had the gain set at 25%. And it did affect the sound because since the amp was only running at 25% gain, I did lose a little bit of the edge. So going to the 50 watt 6L6 power amp did really improve my sound. But again, that's how we alter how we get our guitar tone based on the equipment we have. If we don't have something, we'll figure out a workaround. We don't have a rack mount, processor. So we'll buy floor pedals. Or you've got a rack mount floor unit, or maybe even an FM9 or an FM3, and you're running that through an effects loop of your Marshall or whatever. We always try to figure out the best combination to work with the equipment we have. And as we upgrade, we'll putter around with it. Hopefully we'll try new combinations and figure out new ways of getting, a newer sound or a better way of achieving the sound we want with new equipment. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get a better sound with newer equipment. That's not to say that I'll achieve that, but it's time for me to do some changing on my amp. It's been years since it's been updated, if that makes sense. And I see Ted Talks Tone join the group. Good to see you, Ted. And Jupe says the amp sounds good, so I'm trying to get it a little better. And Jerry White says pairing your MS is the key. RMS, right? Well, yeah. It's been a long time since I did that, and I'm pretty sure these Penta drivers are 30 watt. I'm thinking that's what the Celestion Pentas are rated. I think they're either a 25 watt or a 30 watt driver. And it's very similar to the Celestions that I have in this cabinet. But if I roll my Penta cabinet over and I plug it in, it's going to instantly have, it's an open back cabinet. It's not a sealed, my PV cabinet's a sealed cabinet. And something some people say, whether the driver's mounted on the front, okay, or whether it's mounted from the back facing, like here's your piece of plywood on the front of the cabinet. Some drivers are mounted from the back facing, and then some drivers are mounted from the front, okay, front loaded or back loaded. These are back loaded drivers, but it's a sealed cabinet. So open back, sealed, Pentas, greenbacks, they sound completely different. They really do. The Penta's a more creamy sounding driver. And then I don't know if you can see it, right where my fingers point, there's a black box. That is a two speaker cabinet with two Celestion V30s in it. And I found the V30s just by themselves. I don't want to say I don't like them. It's a sound that I'm not necessarily used to. I think I did use this cabinet and rolled it over to my Celestion cabinet. And since it's a two speaker cabinet with the same ohm load as two of, because my PV cabinet split the stereo. So if I plug my one channel coming out of my BK Butler 6L6 power amp into the two V30, so I got two V30s and two greenbacks, I can use the balancing knob on the ART on how much left right I get. I can balance that out. And what I found is that if I use a little bit more greenback on my balancing versus the V30, it gives it more bottom end, a little more beefy tone. I don't know if anyone's ever done that mixed drivers to try to balance out your tone, but I found that pretty cool. It's just in here I don't have the room to keep that kind of stuff set up, so my main cabinet is my Celestion cabinet, my greenback Celestion cabinet. So I'm missing the chat here. Went to Fractal, Axe FX 3, and powered. Now, Nicholas, I've been looking at Fractal for years. I mean, when I say years, I've been looking at the Fractal stuff for years. The FM, I thought was is it the FX3 or the FM3? It's the really small floor unit. Is that the one that you have? I'm thinking it's the FM3. Maybe it is the FX3. It's like $1,100 for the smaller one. And then they have the 9, I think is about $1,600. And then the one that I really want is the XFX3, the rack mount. I'm a big rack mount guy. It's really hard for me to justify $3,200 on a rack mount unit like that.
He said he has the big one.
You have the big one. I think that's the FM9. Is that the floor unit or the rack mount unit? Because in my little brain, the big one is the rack mount unit using the FC10 foot controller. I think that's what it is.
He said FX3 is $2,000.
Yeah, you've got the rack mount.
That's what Kurt Scale said.
Yeah, you've got the rack mount one. That's the one I want. Yeah.
Rack.
Okay, just rub it in. Just rub it in. Now you got the rack mount. I know that's a nice unit, and I want to get one. But my gosh, I guess I should view it a little different. Okay. I mean, I have a significant other, and she has been 100%. When I say 100% supportive of everything that I do on YouTube, my music hobby, work, whatever it is, she's very supportive. So I don't like to abuse that. I don't want to say it's niceness or love or whatever it is that allows her to let me do this. I don't want to go to her and say, well, I'm going to spend $2,000 or $2,500 on a rack when, unless you're a musician, how much does it really sound different to the people in our lives when we go out and buy a guitar or we buy a new? Do they listen to it and go, sounds the same to me? I mean, I know mine knows that I hear the difference, that for me it means something. I just haven't crossed that bridge. Even today, we were talking last night, Kiesel was having this big sale, and she asked me, are you going to order one? And I was like, yeah, I really should order a new Kiesel at the new price and get it pretty much at cost, but I just can't justify the cash right now. You know, you're right. I have some awesome guitars already. I really do. I'm very fortunate. I have quite a few really nice guitars. And what do I always say? Your amp is most of your tone. So for me to go out and buy a Kiesel and then not do something with my rack kind of makes me a hypocrite. That's something I don't want to be. I don't want to sit here and say, well, your amp makes a bigger difference. Oh, look, he just bought a new Kiesel. He didn't do anything to his amp, and he was just saying that his amp is old and it's starting to cause problems. So that really needs to be my focus is to work on my amp, and I should just bite the bullet and get the the FX3, the rack mount unit. And I thought they just come out with just an effects unit. It's a little floor pedal, and I don't think it has a preamp stage. I thought about getting that. It's like $800, and then use that in the effects loop of the Synergy. I don't know. I think the FX3, I could still use that rack mount unit and then still use my Synergy rack mount tube preamp. And that's pretty much all I'd need. It's going to have the BBE simulation and all that in it. So I could go to a 3U on that, and then my amplifier is 2U. So I could go down to a 5U box and get rid of my 12U box. And Linnell just come in here, so it must be a comment.
Ted Talks Guitar says we married up, brother. But then Jupe said I went to Kiesel's builder and started my 1399 build, and he's at 2300 plus.
Yeah, like I said, Jupe, last night, if you're going to take the deal, I worked on it again today. And I took the 1399 deal and I put a Floyd Rose on it, and I did the roasted maple neck, and I did jumbo nickel frets. Okay. All the other options that or changes I made were free, like the color of the headstock, and I went with the translucent stock colors, black hardware, and I was right at like 1650, and that's an awesome guitar. I mean, it's really an awesome guitar, and without the builder, that guitar would have run about 2100. So it does put it in the price point where I'm comfortable, but I need to concentrate more on my rig, if that makes sense. I mean, this guitar right here, I mean, I get it. This is a production made guitar. It's made in Indonesia. I mean, but this guitar plays fantastic. I love this guitar. And for me, it's obnoxious. I like the polka dots. I'm into obnoxious things. I like the reverse headstock. I like that it's a different pickup configuration. You know, I'm not much on a pickup up here. I like the single pickup right here in the center position. And if you look at the Peavey that I played for years, I modified that guitar and put a single coil tilted the opposite direction in the center position. It's just a really nice sounding spot to put that pickup. So this guitar fits me. Ebony fingerboard. I love this guitar. It's a 24.75 scale length. I've been playing 25.5 scale lengths, so I picked this up tonight and I found that I was misfretting a little bit, but I'm getting better at switching scale lengths. And see,
Stephen Newland said Rick Nielsen when you held the guitar.
Stephen Newland. There you go, Stephen. Again, welcome to the chat. I don't know if I've ever seen you post on our live shows. I don't know if I've seen you post on any of the videos. If you're new here, welcome. We're an open community. Everyone here is to help. Everyone comes here to help everyone else out. This is a no BS group. We're not here to lie or say anything else. We're not here to promote a product or a particular brand. We all have opinions, and we get together every Saturday night and just talk guitars and amps without the factory, you need to say this about our products. We come in here and we just tell the truth and how we feel as musicians, and that's what the group's about. And that's what this channel's reviews about. It's no BS reviews. I just tell you what I think, and that's how it is.
He says he's talked to you once.
And you have talked to me once. Like I said earlier, sometimes my little squirrel brain, you got to keep in mind, guys. The channel has about 2,000 subscribers, so I see a lot of different posts, and it doesn't mean to take away from anyone that posts once or twice. That one post means just as much as someone that has posted 5 or 6 times. Because at the end of the reviews, I say, if you own this product, post. Tell us good, bad, or indifferent. Tell us what you think, because that's going to help someone else that's thinking about buying the product. That may be the only product they have that I've done a review on. They post that one time because they feel, okay, I can contribute this time. In my opinion, that's just as important as someone that's contributing, or talking in each video. That person has put his name and his reputation out. This is my opinion on this product. And that's really what the reviews are about. I review one instrument, and I really depend on the community to reinforce what I find. Now, if you didn't reinforce it, maybe you got a bad one or a good one. I've had some bad instruments on the channel. Hopefully you got a good one and I got the bad one. But that's what the comment section's for.
He says he likes your brain.
Well, thank you, sir.
Jerry White made a comment a little while ago. He said, I'm not a speaker nut, but years ago I had a 212 cab with Eminence Lady Luck speakers. The reviews said it was actually way better than a Celestion, and I have to agree.
What driver was it, honey?
It says Eminence Lady Luck.
Oh, well, Eminence. I'm not guys, I don't want anyone to think that I'm a Celestian nut. I'm not. It just so happens what I have right now are Celestians. I think Eminence makes awesome drivers. I really do. I had some. What's this? Oh, Jackie. Okay, we got another new one to the chat group. Oh, it's not a new one, but it's new to tonight's chat. So everybody gets the little clap if I can remember to hit the button. I had a Fender Twin Reverb, and it had the JBLs in it. And you could always tell the JBLs, they had that big silver center section with the driver. And I thought the JBL sounded fine. That amp was so, when I say loud, it was cut your head off loud. And it would be cut your head off loud clean. That amp did not distort. If you kept it on the clean channel, when I say it was loud, it was so loud. And it stayed clean. That amp, if you play clean music, the Fender Twin Reverb, I think mine was a 69, 70. It was the silver face with the black, but it was a great amp. Of course, I was dumb and sold it. I sold that amplifier and my Fender Explorer, which was about a 78 custom shop Gibson Explorer with a Gigsby, factory Gigsby. I sold both of them many years ago. I wish I could get the guitar back and the amplifier back. But that had JBLs on it. I love the JBLs. And there's a couple other ones. It wasn't just Eminence. What's the other driver? There was another speaker that I really liked. That wasn't. I can't remember. I'll think about it later on in the stream. I'll come up with it. But Eminence kicked the butt out of Celestians. A lot of it, guys. I'm sure every driver has to break in. So when we go out and we buy a driver and we load it in, we're like, that driver needs to break in. And I know manufacturers say, it takes X amount of hours to break the driver in. I'm a firm believer my 4 Greenback Celestion cabinet sounds the way it sounds because it has been pushed hard. When I say pushed hard, it's been pushed hard. And it's been played for, this is probably an 82 cabinet, 83 cabinet. So those drivers, the webbing, the voice coil, the little spider inside that moves, all that is well broken in. They might even be broken in to the point where they're getting ready to go bad, if that makes sense. But it gives it a tone and a sound. Like I said, these Pentas, I don't know. I bought this cabinet used, so I don't know how much time and how much power was drove through this cabinet. All I can say is I like the tone. The V30s I have, I would say even as much as I've played them, they still need more time to break in. I would say those drivers have not technically been broken in yet. It takes some time to break in drivers. I don't know what your all's thought on the average break in time. Not according to the company, but a good break in time for that driver to really start sounding right. I don't know what your all's thoughts are on that, but I believe it does take time for the drivers to break in. And I'll go back here to the chat. Congratulations at Ted Talks Guitars and Lights. Awesome acts from the Fret Knot. Okay. The builder is not only an hour from my house. Okay, I'm missing that conversation. Yeah, Ted says Texas. So I don't know if they're talking about a custom builder in Texas.
No, they were asking where everybody was from.
Okay, asking where everyone's from. How many people have seen that? What is it?
Ted says he won a guitar.
Oh my gosh, Ted won a guitar today. Okay, hold on. That deserves the double. What kind of guitar did you win? I am 100% all in to knowing what this guitar is. I'm waiting for Ted as I hear the Jeopardy music in the background, waiting for Ted's response on what kind of guitar it is.
He said, well, I don't know. He's got the
I have to look. That's a man that has too many guitars. He can't even remember what the new what his free guitar was.
Well, Steven said he has about 30 guitars too many.
Oh my gosh, who said that he had 30 guitars too many?
Steven.
Steven. Well, I've been as I hate to steal the term. I have been thinning the herd, and I just said something to Linnell earlier that I actually need to remove a couple more guitars from the herd here. Um, as much as I really don't want to sell my highly modified Firefly FFMN, I'm thinking about letting that guitar go. Um, I can't fathom the man hours I have in that guitar. I will put that guitar up against any guitar at any price point. It plays that well. I've redone the whole guitar. There's nothing stock about the guitar other than it still has the stock pickups. And the stock pickups aren't bad, believe it or not. But it's a phenomenal playing guitar, and it's got a highly modified Floyd Rose bridge in it. There's no stock components on the bridge whatsoever. It's it's the bee's knees. So I'm probably going to sell that guitar. I actually have a Kramer Assault with a reverse headstock, and it has the maple neck on it. Again, another truly phenomenal guitar. I'm probably going to end up selling that guitar. Um, and I have a couple others. I did a review of it's like a Blueberry Burst Firefly downstairs, and the review did not go well. So I need to take that guitar back out of the box and completely rework the guitar. You know, put a nice tremolo in it, go through the electronics, go through the frets. Really set the guitar up, and then sell it to a subscriber as like a project. Do a video thing on it. I need that one to disappear. There's a couple other ones that are here. There's a couple that I really want to keep. I've got a guitar. I don't know if I've actually ever shown it on YouTube. How many people have ever heard of a Squire M80? Anybody here ever heard of? Well, how many people ever knew Squire had a custom shop? That's the question. Squire Custom Shop. Anybody ever knew that Squire attempted a custom shop guitar? I own one, and it's a guitar that I think I'm always going to keep just due to its rarity. Yeah, Squire about 20 some years ago tried a special run, It was Squire Custom Shop. And they had, I think, two or three different models. And you can type in Squire M80. It's basically a set neck Stratocaster. Okay? It does have it's a set neck Stratocaster with two Seymour Duncan designed pickups and really nice tuners. It has it's like a brushed nickel. I don't know if it's like a brushed nickel hardware. It's a beautiful guitar. It's got a natural finish on it, so you can see the wood grain. The one I have, I bought off a gentleman. Well, the gentleman I got it from knew the guy that owned the store, and he owned the store. And evidently, this guy has a bunch of guitars in his basement from back when he had the store, and he gives them to this fella, and he puts them on Marketplace and sells them off occasionally. This guitar I bought off that gentleman, and I don't think the guitar has really ever been played that much. It's mint. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of the Squire M80 or not.
Tom Surfing Alien said he made a video on a wall-mounted guitar rack using a French cleat and Harbor Freight utility hook.
Yeah, who said that?
Tom Surfing Alien.
Time Surfing Alien. So you made a custom wall mount. Now, my wall mounts, I use the same as my little mounts here. These are the Hercules mount. And I like them because of see the little guys here moving back and forth? They kind of lock the headstock in. And I found the Hercules, the two little pads here, they have found the sweet spot as far as the width. And it's not round. This is an ellipse, okay? So as this thing moves in, this part gets thicker. So it allows you to put some really wide headstocks and some really narrow headstocks in the rack. So all my wall mount and my guitar things are Hercules. I found that they work really well. Yeah, $10, that's still cheap. I think these, I buy them in bulk. I usually buy like the 5-pack. And I want to say they're like $80 to $90 for the 5-pack. It might be a 4-pack, but they're definitely more than $10. Definitely more than $10. And some people, if you've got nitrocellulose, you want to watch these because I have heard reports that these foam pads on some of these guitar hangers will react to the nitrocellulose finish on your guitar. So you might want to be careful of your nitro finishes. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that, but I have heard reports of the nitro finish reacting to the foam, the polystyrene or the poly resin that they make the foam out of. So I'm going back and I'm looking at the chat, guys.
They're kind of talking amongst themselves.
Yeah, you guys are just talking amongst yourselves, which is good. That's why we're here. It gives my voice a little bit of a break. So let's actually fire up the guitar one more time as I put my cigarette out. That's something, guys, I've been seriously thinking about quitting. I'm getting a little upper in age, and I think I really need to work hard on quitting smoking, and might need the community, you guys, to give me a boost and help on quitting. I think it's time for me to put them down. I had quit for 6 years, and I had a really stressful day at work. It was about 6 years ago. And for whatever reason, I walked into the convenience store and I bought a pack of cigarettes. And I said, well, I'm just going to have one. And I did. I only had one that day. But later on that week, like 4 or 5 days later, I had another one. And then one came 2 a day, then 3 a day. And within about 2 months, I was right back to smoking again. So I really need to set them down and set them down permanently.
Set mind over matter.
Exactly. I'm 100% agree to that because when I quit the first time, it was over my son, and I wanted to stay healthy, and I had quit because I wanted to be here for my son. So it's definitely mind over matter. If you want to quit, you will quit. And I haven't wanted to quit, but I'm getting to the point now where I'm like, yeah, I want to quit. I want to quit. Um, but being that I had quit for 6 years, I'm going to say smoking is a lot like alcohol. Once you become addicted to it, you're always addicted. Whether it's 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever it is, once a drinker, always a drinker. Once a smoker, always a smoker. I think we always have that in the back. And I used to play in bars. And for me to sit here and say I didn't drink excessively would be lying to you guys. Um, I drank, I did drugs, I smoked, and when I played professionally, I was in a bad place. And the main reason I stopped everything was because I was in that bad place. I was at the end of the night when you're playing a bar and you owe the bar money, that's not good. And when you're charging $25 a head, okay, and you've got 200 or 300 people there, and the bar is still fronting you $700 a night plus your head count, and you end up owing the bar $500 at the end of the night, um, that's not good. Not good at all. And I had to make a decision, and I quit. I said no more. I cannot. I can no longer live this lifestyle, and I understand why musicians get like that. When you start playing this gig, and then you got to pack up and you're going to the next gig, and you're sleeping in your van or your tour bus or whatever it is, and you're getting no rest. You got to set back up and you got to play, and whether you feel good or you cut your finger or you got a headache or what, you have to play, and it becomes stressful. So they turn to, drugs, whether it's speed or whatever it is, to get you through that night. And then eventually you get to the point where you can't function without it. And that's what happened to me. I just got to you know, marijuana got to the point where it was just like smoking a cigarette. I had to smoke a quarter bag to get high. It was bad. And I tried to turn my life around and gave up drinking, gave up drugs, but I continued to smoke. And I smoked up until my son was probably, I don't know, maybe 10. And then I quit for 6 years. And like I said, I had a stressful day. And I say all this because it's very hard not to revert back to something that we did like that. Um, and I try and I struggle every day with it. And I try to be a better person, if that makes sense. So, yeah, Steven says, got more free booze than cash. That was one of the incentives to playing in bars. But what I found was you would lose the free booze option if the bar fronted you X. Okay, let's say the bar would say, okay, we're going to pay you $1,000, but you're buying your own booze. So they would either front you a lot if they knew you and knew you were going to draw a crowd. If they knew you and knew you were hit and miss, they might front you 50%. Let's say if it was $500 a night's what the bar normally paid, they might give you $250, okay, and then the bar would charge anywhere from $10 to $20 a head. They might say, okay, we'll give you $5 a head, or we'll give you $10 a head plus the $250. So there was a bunch of different ways, but usually if they give you the head and a front, you didn't also get the free drinks. So that was something the band manager had to kind of negotiate out with the band, if that makes sense. Yeah, bars. Yeah, it's a rough lifestyle. Even the larger places that I played were still technically bars. I never really played an arena, if that makes sense. That wouldn't be considered a bar. The biggest place I ever played was Blackie's down in the city, and that was a big venue. That was more like a bar with a stage. In fact, a big stage with areneum seating. They had seats. Well, they had a section like that, and then behind that they had tables. And there was a bar down the side and a bar in the back.
Steven said he's been there.
Oh, you've been there. Okay. Well, yeah. Yeah, then you know the scenario. It was a very large place. They could cram a lot of people in there, and that was one of the venues to play there. They had to know you. You had to come there with a reputation. They have very large name bands come in there. So to play that facility, you had to not necessarily bring them a tape, but they needed to know that you were going to be able to perform and draw a crowd. So a lot of times, a lot of artists would pigtail off a more well-known local artist, or they would be an opening act for a larger artist, and they would always do front money and head. That's how Blackie's always worked. It was always front load with head. But that was about the biggest place I ever played, and there was quite a few people there. And talking about being nervous, there's a difference when you're playing in a bar with, maybe 50 people to 150 people. Really, when you come out and you see that many tables and that many people just waiting at the bar to get served, and know that there's a section to the left that just has like the entertainment, the pool tables and stuff like that, and you know that area is packed too. That really puts the weight on your shoulders to perform, and that leads you down that road. You got to practice, you got to perform, you got to. It's more than knowing the music and performing is this much of it. I hate to say that. It was your attitude and practicing, your ability to go out and find more work, your ability to communicate with other musicians and receiving your money. There was so much to it. Not only did you have to be a really a phenomenal musician, you needed to be a business person as well. Um, I never really made it as a professional artist. Well, I guess I did. I made money playing music, so I guess that means I made it. But as far as being a major name or anything like that, I didn't. Um, it's different now. Most people record and they put on Spotify. So the day of, let's say larger labels picking you up, I think that's gone. So now everyone produces and writes their own stuff and they try to sell it. So I think it's even become more complicated as far as being a business person and being a musician. Um, I couldn't fathom trying to make a living doing music now, and I know people do it. I just don't see how they do it, and I'm sure there's got to be a secret sauce. You're balancing this versus this. I'm sure they do it. There's tons of artists out there that do it. It's just I have, what's his name said, like Ted said, well, I picked my path. So now this is my way of getting back into the music, sharing experiences, and really just getting that missing thing of being able to go to music stores and talk to other artists and jam. Saturday night's a time for us to get together, talk. Like I see everyone in the chat just kind of talking and chatting amongst themselves. That's what it's about. We don't really have that like we did 25 years ago. So to get together and be able to chat and talk, that's what it's about.
Steven said he played Daytona Beach spring breaks.
Daytona Beach at spring break. I bet you that was a heck of a crowd. Now that I think about it, we did play, the band packed up, and I didn't want to do it, but that might have been the largest place I ever played. We played in North Carolina. This would have been, I don't know, I couldn't even tell you the name of the city. I know that we took 81 down to that end of the North Carolina state, and we played the Harley Davidson convention that they had down there, and there was a tremendous that probably, yeah, that was definitely the most most people I ever played to, because that was actually a stage, and there were some pretty large name bands there the day before. I didn't open for them. We were more with the lower tier bands, but the day before there were some pretty well known bands there.
Steven said,
Um,
have you seen Buckethead?
I've never personally seen Buckethead live. Um, I kind of went into the professional work life of carpentry and CNC programming. Doing the main part of my career has been doing stairs, specialty stairs, the big curved stairs and ornate CNC woodworking. So my ability to go out and see artists and stuff kind of diminished probably after, we're going to say 2005, 2006. I kind of just concentrated at work and life, if that makes sense.
Jackie said, I've been learning a lot in the hangouts. Don't know many musicians locally.
Yeah, that's the issue is local musicians. I mean, I know there's, Jackie's got it right on the head right there. You know, well, this is a small channel as far as YouTube's concerned. 2,000 subs is a small channel. I see these larger channels, and I I see their live streams, and I'm wondering, okay, they've got 60,000 subscribers. Does this channel, if when you get to that point, could they actually have events and stuff? I mean, I would, with the limited subscribers I have, and we're scattered across the United States. It makes it to where could you do something like that, or would it be better to at the beginning of the year, like this is the beginning of the year, we're just going to say we're going to have a meeting and we're all going to get together, but we're going to pick an event that's already big that everyone wants to go to, whether it's, they just had NAM. So that's a big event. We could say everyone's going to meet and have pizza and go walk together and walk through NAM. That would be something. Or like Sweetwater has Gear Fest once a year. We could say, okay, we're gonna go to Gear Fest, not as YouTubers, but just as people going to Sweetwater to go hang out. I mean, they've got a food court, all kinds of stuff. Plus, they got stuff upstairs for the significant others. There's a hair salon. There's a massage place. The place is so big they have an on-staff doctor and nurse station upstairs in case someone gets sick. I mean, it's crazy how big this place is. We get together and go to the food court. And everyone just kind of goes and does their own little thing in Sweetwater. I've thought about doing that. For me, it's about 11-hour drive to Sweetwater, so I would have to take my vacation time to do it. But I would be 100% up doing my vacation to meet everybody and go up to Sweetwater and save up some money. I did it 2 years ago. We're probably going to go up this year, but it would be cool as heck to have everyone get together for something like that. I would be into that. And Ted's building community. Yeah, that's what it's about, man. Yeah, I mean, that's what your channel's about, Ted. It's about building trust and about building community and talking about life. I mean, that's why I like your channel. I mean, it's about being honest and upfront and just being us. I don't want to be something I'm not. At the end of my last video, I put right on there a part of the demo that I messed up. It's not like I sat down. That's why I said I recorded about 2 hours, and I would go through the little stupid 12-bar blues things, and you go, well, that's a simple little thing. I get it. It is simple. But maybe I had the volume wrong set on the amp, or I got all the way to the neck position and completely screwed up and go, well, I got to redo all 3 spots because I don't want to keep breaking the camera angle. So I'll go back and re-record it, or I'll record it twice, and depending on the camera and stuff. That's why on the one section, I think it's the dirt, I'm only using the one camera. Because when I set up the second camera, the camera was tilted. And everything looked skewed and funny. So there's always a reason in my videos that it's like, well, why is he doing this? Well, maybe the one camera died. I used to have a problem with the GoPros overheating, and then I switched to external batteries and I fixed that. But you can go back to some of my earlier ones. You'll hear beep, 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 beep in the background, and then all of a sudden you'll just get one camera angle. Well, that's because the other camera died. Um, so I deliberately I leave that stuff sometimes at the end of the video so you guys can see that, I'm just a dude in his house reviewing guitars that's got some woodworking experience that wants to share what he sees, and start a community. That's what it's about. Well, let me fire up this guitar one more time because I actually like playing. And you guys seem to be doing a good job anyway of talking amongst yourselves. So I'm going to play my obnoxiously polka dotted Kramer, and I will move the microphone out of the way since that was one of the comments. They couldn't see the guitar. So let me shift this thing out of the way. I'm not going to do that. I don't want a copyright strike. kinds of missed notes in that. But, just getting the guitar and just, I don't know, guys, man. There's something about a screaming guitar that I just like. And sometimes we try to push that envelope on what we can and can't do. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think playing out of the seat of your pants, sometimes it's a feel that you get. You just kind of run with it. That's what I try to do, and hopefully that comes across in my playing. It's not thought about. I play with feel, and I try to put that feeling into the instrument so you guys can get it.
You have a Mikey B357 that says, as a woodworker, you would think you would build guitars, at least one. With a question mark.
Yeah, Mikey, you're 100% right. We're gonna give Mikey a. There you go, Mikey. I haven't seen you comment here before, so if you're new, welcome. Welcome to the community. Everyone here is super nice. Everyone here has their own skill set, and everyone can contribute. So, as far as me being a woodworker, you're right. I should probably build a complete guitar from scratch. But it's a lot of work, okay? And I have access to a CNC machine. I could easily go into AutoCAD. I could easily program out a whole body. And with the ATC automatic tool changer, I could go through and I could easily route out a body and do most of the work on the neck. It comes down to, do I do that for a living? No. The amount of time it would take for me to AutoCAD it and then prototype it, even though AutoCAD is accurate, you still have what's called backlash in your NC machine. The one that I have, it's not a Haas. It's not a $300,000 Haas machine. So there's a little bit of lash in the gearing as far as the way the stepper motors work. I pretty much know how much lash there is and how much variance there is, about 128th of an inch, something like that. And of course that doubles. So if you have 128th of an inch lash, you're going to end up with about a 64th of an inch that the machine can go one way or the other. Because if it lashes 128th of an inch this way, it's also going to lash 128th of an inch this way, and your two marks are here, which gives you a difference of 164th. That tolerance is still way good enough to be able to build an instrument with. But I'd still need to set blanks up on the machine, learn and figure it out. There's a learning curve, and since I've never done it,
He said, like,
I don't know.
build videos, CNC, all kinds of stuff. Try it. You may like it.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to do that kind, but I'm going to be honest with you, Mike. Just doing the review video, I don't know if you saw my latest review video that I posted last night. That took me about 2.5 weeks to do after work. Okay? And at work, if I went and put a neck or a body up on the machine and then devoted time from my job to do something like that, they would probably, well, I know they would frown on it. That's not what we do. We don't make guitars, if that makes sense. So if I took time at work to make fixtures, to hold the body on the vacuum table, it would take a lot of time. Could I do it? I know there's other YouTube channels that do it. I've seen some of them, and I'm like, well, I'll keep my opinions to myself as far as how they do it. I couldn't do that. I would have to do it in a professional fashion and show you how I feel Schecter and Gibson, the fixtures, how they're holding. I think that would be cool. The only way I could ever do that is one of these larger companies that are already set up would have to invite me in. And I would love to go in. I'm sure there's so much that they could show me and teach me from doing that type of work. There's an old saying, you cannot beat someone at their own trade. You can't. And that's why when I say, you look at, let's say, Firefly, Leo James, these companies like that, do they make a guitar that's good for the price point? I'm going to say they do. But I'm going to qualify that statement where if Fender, Gibson, ESP, any of these other companies wanted to, they could bury those companies like that. They could. The reason for it is it's time on the machine. Okay? Leo James and Firefly, they can't produce 100,000 units or 50,000 or 20, whatever the unit count is. These larger companies, if they wanted to, they could take a program that they already have a neck on. They don't have to do any programming. Okay? They could speed the machine up, okay, to where the finish isn't quite as good. Okay? They could change their step over rate. Instead of it taking an hour to run the neck, change their step over rate, decrease that down to, 40 minutes. Increase their step down rate when doing their bodies and leave that on the finished end. That might save them 15 minutes. Decrease a little bit on what I'm trying to say is they're still using the exact same thing. They're just changing the approach and the man hours on the unit. If they did that, they could produce a guitar far better than Leo James, Firefly, all these other companies, and have it at the exact same price point, if they wanted to do it.
Kurt Hill says, have you ever considered guitar DIY kits for review?
Kurt, yeah, Linnell's reading me some of the comments as it comes in. Ted just did a DIY kit, and I think Ted nailed it. When you figure the kit, okay, you're going to buy the kits of 150, 180 bucks. Then you got to go out and buy all the finishes and stuff like that, and the sandpaper, in your time, and then you're buying let's say you buy a lower grade kit, you're still going to end up buying tuners and stuff like that. I don't think that's the way to go. I think your better way to go is what's coming to my mind right now would be Guitar Fetish. They have that XPS line or whatever it is, bodies and necks. They come pre-finished. So you can get one of their bodies and necks and do the fretwork and stuff yourself and then do your own electronics. And there used to be a company called Stratosphere. And they used to buy guitars, and they would literally take the guitar apart and just sell off the parts. So if you wanted to build a Strat, you could go to Stratosphere and you could buy a Fender neck and a body and then load it with anything that you wanted to load it with, and then still do the fretwork and set the guitar up the way you want. I think that's the better option, okay, if you want to do a guitar. And that doesn't mean if you want to buy a kit and sand it and do it, there's a fun factor in doing that. I'm not going to take any of that away. We're talking the dollar amount, the amount you spend, the amount of time it'll take you, and the end result. Okay, I think doing the buying parts and assembling it pre-finished and just doing the work, you're going to be ahead of the game financially and time-wise. But if you want to build a guitar, take it from scratch and build one from scratch. I mean, it's your instrument. I'm not going to say it takes a phenomenal woodworker. If you're a talented woodworker, you should have no problem building a guitar. There's no aspect of the guitar that requires a phenomenal amount of talent, if that makes sense. This is coming from a woodworker. Someone that doesn't do woodworking, I'm sure they're kind of like, oh my gosh, how do you do that? But if you're a good woodworker, there's really nothing on a guitar that you can't do. Would it be perfect? You're probably not shooting for perfect. You're shooting for fun. You want to build it. So I don't see where it would be an issue with that. But as far as me doing it, I don't think I would do that. I think I would buy a body that's already pre-finished on the neck and build it like a parts caster or a parts guitar. I would at least buy the neck, okay? I know I can mic the neck, and this is me. I know I could mic the neck, okay, with my calibers. I could go into AutoCAD, and within an hour, I could do a solid, not just a 2D drawing, but a solid model of the body that I want to produce accurately enough. I could go to I don't know how the tear out on the machine works and what tooling to use. I'm pretty sure that I could write a CNC program and just go to the shop, put it in the machine, and take an hour and run my program and cut my own body out. If I couldn't do it on the first pass, I know my second pass I could get it right. And the only reason I say that is I've never done an open pocket on a route like that in a guitar. I've done muttons, so I would kind of look at it as a mutton, a window mutton. It would be about the same tear out, give or take. I'm guessing because I haven't done it, but I'm pretty sure my first CNC program would be good enough, and the second time I could definitely get it much better.
Mikey said DIY your own CNC.
Yeah, I could DIY my own CNC. It's not like it used to be. You've got if I was going to DIY my own CNC, I would probably use Mach 3. I think that's still a thing. I don't think they charge for Mach 3. And then you could make your own bob. And if you're a novice to see a CNC, a bob is what's called a breakout board. It's the small controllers that control the stepper motors. So you could easily build your own bob and set it up and use some NEMA 23 motors. I would use NEMA 23s. I'm not a big fan of using routers. The problem with routers are instead of spindles, there's a big difference between a spindle and a router. A router, there's a lot of in play. If you look at the shaft that comes out of the roller to the collet to the tool, there's usually a lot of in play because there's no throwout bearing. The bearings are this way. Let me view it this way. Here's your shaft. Okay, there's a bearing on the end, a bearing in the center. Well, that prevents the shaft from doing this, but it doesn't really prevent the shaft this way. Okay, that's not what a race bearing does. Okay, the bearing prevents the way the race is made and the balls. It prevents the shaft from going this way. You have to use what's called a thrust bearing, which is above that, to get the end out. And as the tool comes down, if you're using a down spiral, that applies pressure to the shaft of the router. And as it comes out of the tooling and your engagement as far as the amount of pressure, your tooling speed as far as the RPM versus your feet per minute, that changes your engagement and the amount of pressure. As soon as you make a change on any of these, okay, that spindle can move on a router. On a spindle, on the other hand, like a water-cooled spindle, there's less in play in the machine. So you get more accurate results with that. But if you're doing a DIY, I kind of get why people use like a little 2 horsepower router. But building a guitar, the neck pocket's got to be right. If you don't want to use a shim, I could write a CNC program and I could back pitch the neck pocket to give me my 2 or 3 degrees on that, and it would be spot on with a spindle machine. With a router-based machine, there's enough. I can't. The words. There's enough playroom in that, or slop in the spindle head itself, to where you may end up having to use a shim, even though you program that route for the pocket. But I enjoy watching other channels talk about it. I don't usually type in because I get where they're coming from. It's a DIY type thing. I've got to kind of stick with what's been working for me. And the channel was started doing, more of a budget-friendly type guitar content and guitar reviews. That doesn't mean we've reviewed some pretty expensive guitars on the channel. And I'm going to review more mid-price guitars. I think I've said this before, I don't want to become the Firefly channel. So our next couple reviews are not going to be Fireflies. And that's kind of sad because, I look at my reviews and the Firefly reviews really do the best. They do. They're the best content as far as uploading a review and viewer content. And I think I need to break out of that mold a little bit. We're probably going to review a Squier next, and then most likely the Jackson after that. But I got too much. To go back to the original point, it's too much for me and this channel to also do CNC content and woodworking content and stuff like that. So I try to apply what I know to the guitar reviews, if that makes sense. But that's work. If that makes that's my work. I want this to YouTube is work. I'm not saying that, but I want it to be fun work. If that makes sense. I don't want to drag work in with this work. If that makes any sense whatsoever.
David said, work on that smoking. You made me think. If I made it big, I'd be dead. I was so crazy drumming out of control back in my late teens, using my brother's ID to play in bars. God bless.
Yeah, you're right, and you're 100% right, David. Sometimes we get in that scenario, um, and it's funny that you made that comment because I was getting ready to actually smoke a cigarette. So I will not smoke the cigarette, and I'll ask the significant other to grab me my drink. Can I have one more drink, honey? Ha! She is way more than I deserve. Trust me, guys. Um, I can't say enough about having a partner that is good to you and understands you. Thank you, baby. David says he hits 70 this year. Yeah, and I'm sure I'm still at the point where the smoking probably hasn't reared its ugly head for complications down the road. And I'm sure it will. Even if I quit today, I have smoked enough in my life to most likely I would still have those complications from smoking. I'm pretty sure of it. And time surfing nailing, my play great for me. Can't compare the more expensive brands. Never played any. So time surfing alien. What is the most expensive guitar you think you've played, or owned for that matter? For me, the most expensive guitar I think I've ever played would probably be a Gibson. About a $3,500 Gibson would be and I didn't own it. I just played it. That would be the most expensive guitar I've ever played. I don't know about you guys. And, again, did I feel the Gibson played badly? No. Did I feel the Gibson played $3,500 worth of good versus the Kramer I was just playing? No, I can buy 4 of these Kramers for the price of that Gibson. That doesn't take anything away from the Gibson. If you want a Gibson, it's a good, solid American-made instrument. Got no issues with it. The price of admission is whatever Gibson wants to charge. And if you want to get in to that model guitar, that's what you have to pay. It becomes up to you whether or not it's worth that amount of money. Times $300 Firefly. There's nothing wrong with that, man. This Firefly right here, this thing plays nice. There's nothing wrong with this guitar. I guarantee you, I could set this guitar up and I could play it just as well as my Kramer. I guarantee it. It almost plays that right now. The bridge works really well. It's just the action for me is just a fraction high on this guitar, just a fraction high. But if I set the action height and worked on the nut just a little bit, if you watched the review and got the first fret note right, I would have absolutely no issues with this guitar. And I shouldn't say I don't have any issues with it now as far as playability, but it would suit me better, suit my liking better. There's nothing at all wrong with it. I think I could take this guitar and to make it more me friendly, set it up. And I think I've already said I'm not a big fan of this bridge pickup. I would change the bridge pickup. I think for $120 I could make this guitar a player for me, and it would be all I technically need as a guitar, if that makes sense. So, Time Surfing Alien, when you're ready and you want to buy a nicer guitar, take your time, go into the stores, do your shopping, and don't think of it as a brand name or a model or this or that. The guitar will speak to you. You're going to pick one up one day and you're going to go, I have to have this guitar. And that's going to be the one that you should buy because it's going to speak to you. And I've had a couple guitars do that to me. Believe it or not, this little Kramer right here, it speaks to me. It's just something about it. I can put that guitar in the case, break out another guitar, play it for a couple months, and when I come back to this, I always think, wow, this really is a great guitar. And no matter how many times I put it away for a month or a month and a half and I come back to it, I always say the same thing. This is a great guitar. And when you continuously do that, you know you've got a good guitar. It speaks to me. I like it. And I'm going back to the chat. Yeah, Jackie's right. You'll know when you pick it up, Time Servant Alien. And you know, you might go years. I played a PV Nitro active guitar for years. And I was really kind of stuck up about it. I mean, I loved that guitar so much, and I liked the way it felt. I liked the way it sounded. I liked every aspect of that guitar. And I would go into music stores, and they would look at me, that's a great guitar. I'm like, it's not as good as my PV. And they were like, PV? I'm like, yeah, I got an awesome PV. And I did it for years. I would go into music stores just to try to find something that would play in my little squirrel brain that felt as good and sounded as good as my PV. And for years, I just couldn't find it. Couldn't find it. Couldn't find it. Couldn't find it. And I bought Strats, and I never kept them. I would sell them because of the volume knob not feeling right, or not this or that. And it wasn't really until I started really reviewing guitars that I started opening up a little bit more to different styles of guitars. But even to this date, that PV Nitro is still my standard. That's my guitar. And it could be because I just played it for so many years. I played it to the point where the frets are just shot on that guitar. It needs new frets bad. Not just one or two frets, but the whole fretboard's in bad shape. But it still plays good, even though the frets are all chewed up. So I've got a tremendous amount of hours on that guitar, and I'm sure that makes me a little biased. We were talking about that last night too, being biased. You know, it makes me more biased because I've got so many hours playing that guitar. And this guitar is a different scale length, and it's a different feel on the neck. Okay, this is ebony, and my Nitro is rosewood. So there are some differences here. It's not like it's the exact same guitar. This guitar is more like my PV Vandenberg. It's the exact same scale length as my Vandenberg. It's the exact same fret material as my Vandenberg. The big difference is this has a humbucker in the center position and not a single coil. But other than that, it's pretty much a PV Vandenberg. I love it. And I'll go back to the chat. Yep, Time Serving Alien. Yes, pretty awesome. And for $50, you can let a Torsen do the setup. So yeah, I've seen that you guys are talking about being setting up and stuff. I've heard other people talk about it. Tease guitars. I've heard about that. There's another one. Is it AIO? Supposedly, when you order their guitar, they want you to say your specifications on your setup, and they set the guitar up and then send it to you. I think AIO does the exact same thing.
Jackie said, what's the scale length on the Night Swan?
The scale length on the Night Swan is 24.75. It's the exact same as a PV Vandenberg. So it makes it very easy to bend your notes because it's a shorter scale length. I mean, you can really, you can just bend the snot out of this thing. This guitar just plays effortlessly. If you guys have the opportunity to play this guitar, they make it in a solid black one if you don't want the polka dots. They make a couple different versions of it. This is a This is an awesome guitar. It's got two Seymour Duncan JBs. So these are both JBs. Now for my liking, what I'm probably going to do, this pickup right here, this coil right here, I'm probably going to disconnect and just use this coil. I like the single coil in the center sound. I like to blend it. Or I'm going to put a switch in to where I can turn that coil off. You know, I can make it a single coil. I might even do that. I might put a push-pull here, and this push-pull pot will only break the center pickup and make it a single coil. But when you do that, unless you go in, you actually cut the wire between the two coils and not do like a coil tap, it still sounds a little different because you still have the magnetism and the wind of the dead side of the pickup. So it technically doesn't sound like a single coil. So I don't know. It might be better just to pull the pickup and put a true single coil in there. And then this would be awesome. But I'll probably do the push-pull pot and split the coil on it. But if you guys have the opportunity, I see these guitars. You can get them. You can find them used mint for about $550. And believe it or not, I bought that one brand new for $550. New. That was a deal I just couldn't pass up, so I bought it. So deals are out there on really nice guitars, and that's why I'm saying don't be a brand snob. If you look, pay attention. Don't just look for Kramer or Fender or Gibson or LTD or ESP or Schecter. Do a general search, okay? And they might have a model that's just not selling at this particular location, and they just want to get rid of it. Guitar Center's bad for that. They, after 6 months of that thing being on the floor, Guitar Center's going to discount it. That's what they did on this one. It just didn't sell. I walked in, it's $550, brand new. And it didn't really show that many signs. Like sometimes they'll discount them out when people drop them and stuff. There wasn't any marks on this guitar. It was still like brand new condition. So really pay attention to your local stores. Guitar Center's good for it. After 6 months, they discount it out to move the inventory. I bought a Dean MD24 at Guitar Center in Ohio for $450. It's a $900 guitar. The only issue was the low E string was broke behind the locking nut. Someone had tried to tune it and didn't know anything about a Floyd Rose and broke the string, but it was fine because the locking nut was still engaged. And I asked the guy, I said, why are you selling it for $450? It's just been here too long. We're not going to put strings on it. It's $450. And an excellent guitar for $450. Had a Floyd Rose 1000 on it. Two awesome Seymour Duncan pickups. Phenomenal playing guitar. $450. So you can, if you look, you can find these $800 and $900 guitars for $500. New. You can find them. I can't be the only one that finds the deals, if that makes sense. Just pay attention when you go into the store. Look at the products that you don't normally look at. You might run across something that goes, hey, I should pick that thing up and play it. At that price, you might be surprised what you might like. You really. And I'm reading the chat comments now. And Jude 5000 says, I've had my JB200 for 4 years now and not had any truss rod adjustments yet or any other. It's funny you bring that up, Jude. This guitar right here I was just talking about. When I first brought it home, it played really nice for about 2 weeks. And then the neck went funny. So I adjusted the truss rod. I put it back up on the wall. It played good for about 3 weeks, and then the neck went wacky again. So I adjusted the truss rod. This went on for about 6 months. And it was really getting to the point where there's something wrong with this guitar. Why is this neck not staying in adjustment? And after 6 months, it finally stabilized. And maybe that was the issue why I just never sold at Guitar Center. But when I played it at Guitar Center, it was fine. It's not like the action was way high. I looked down the neck. It had a little bit of a relief in the neck, um, but it wasn't out of whack. But when I brought it home, it went crazy, and it took 6 months for it to stabilize. But I have not adjusted the truss rod on it now for 6 months, so it's been stable for 6 months. Knock on wood or wherever over here, I haven't had to make an adjustment. My PV Nitro, that neck on that guitar hasn't been adjusted in 25 years. It hasn't needed to be adjusted. It's rock solid. So I'll go back to the chat. So you guys are definitely carrying on a conversation. You guys watch it in live stream. I go back and watch it after it, and then I pick up on all the different conversations you guys are actually having. So it's like I get to do it twice. So, Jupe, again, it's on the brighter side tone-wise, though. But if you like that, you can't go wrong. That's cool. And then Jackie. I know Kramer has a bunch of 84 style guitars with funky graphics on them. So, having a hard time selling. I've seen big discounts on them recently. Yeah, I don't mind the polka dots. But I know the ones you're talking about. Some of them have got like diamond shapes and stuff on them. They're really strange. Another thing that they make what's called the SM1. It's a modern take of a Super Strat. And I would probably already own one of those if it didn't have the really strange shark tooth inlay on the neck. I just can't seem to get over the shark tooth inlay on it. I'm not a big fan of it. But yeah, it's not just them. You can find good discounts on Dean as well. And believe it or not, Jackson. I've seen some crazy discounts on some of these Jacksons lately, especially the X series. I've seen some X series Jacksons going from $450 to $550, and I think that's normally a $900 guitar. So you guys might want to look in the Jackson area too for decent discounts. And David says, I got 2 AIO guitars. Yeah, Jen Owens at the shop is easy to talk to. I've never really spoke to him. I think when the channel gets a little bigger, I will start actually reaching out to some of these companies and talking to them. But you guys, as the subscribers, you guys can do so much. I mean, you can call them and say, hey, there's this guy on YouTube. He does great reviews or whatever. And just put it in their little brain. Hey, there's someone else out there covering content that maybe you all should consider. I know a couple of the subscribers have sent emails to Firefly. I've never heard anything from Firefly other than when I email them over a problem. It usually takes them about a day to get back to me. But when people start emailing the company and saying, hey, I found out about your product through this person or this person, that's when they start paying attention to that particular channel. But I think we got a long way to go, guys, as far as this channel getting anything. Yeah, Randy Rhodes had polka dots. You're right, Time Surfing. And I'm missing if I'm missing your all's comments, I think I said this once before. If it's a question directly to me, put some question marks before. Write your comment and a ton of question marks afterwards. And it kind of lets me kind of glance over and see if it's something that you're asking me. Because if not, it kind of gets lost in the chat. I can't follow it if it makes sense. That's just me. I'm trying to get better at doing that. And then Jackie, I had a purple Tiger Charvel. Weird graphics are no issue for me. Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. Like, I think I talked about it once before. My PV, I used to have bright yellow pinstripes all over it. Not like the Eddie Van Halen thing. It was like curved and striped, and It was really strange, but I liked it. It was cool. And then Stevens, IYV 300 semi hollow body, LP style, fantastic. Yeah, I almost bought one of those for a review. And right now I'm looking at the IYV. I think it's a 340 model. It looks like a Paul Reed Smith style body, but it's solid black. I'm thinking about ordering that. It's on sale right now on Amazon for 159 or 169. I had tried to order that model once before. They had made a limited run of those with P90s in it, and I ordered it. And it kind of got lost in the mail, and ended up canceling the order. And then all of a sudden they found it in Baltimore, but it was too late at that point. I had already canceled, so they were redirecting the order back to IYV. Yeah, guys, like Ted said, if you guys hit the like button, leave comments, it really does help the channel. It helps YouTube push the video out. Oh my gosh, Kurt says he's not a fan of P90s. Now, see, I kind of like a fat sounding P90. It's like well, it's what it is. It's a fat sounding single coil. It's not really not a humbucker as far as the warmth, but it's a more aggressive single coil. I kind of like that tone. I find it works better with lower distortion amounts, like hitting that early 80s tone, or even like the jazzy kind of blues type tone. I think they work real well for. Yeah, Jackie, you got to pick one up. If you haven't played one with P90s, pick it up. It is, you're either going to like it or not like it. It is a single coil, so they're going to be a little noisier than a humbucker, okay, because it is a single coil, but it's a deeper, richer sound than a standard single coil. So you might like them. I have two guitars with P90s in them, and both of them are Fireflies. One of them has upgraded pickups on it. It has the Dylan Talk Stone pickups, and that thing sounds awesome. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dylan Talk Stone. Some people don't really like his channel. I like it because he's straightforward and honest. He's not trying to be anything that he's not. He doesn't care whether you agree with him or not. He has an opinion. That's his opinion. And he views it as, well, that's why you came to my channel, to hear my opinion. And this is my opinion. You may not agree with it. He does come across harsh sometimes, but I like that about the channel. He's a pickup builder. And I will say this, his pickups are phenomenal. But you do pay for them. They are hand wound by him and his wife. So I have no issues paying $230 for a set of hand wired pickups made in the United States by a small builder like that. That's money well spent, in my opinion.
Mr. Fats is on.
Oh, Mr. Fats joined the group. Okay, hold on. And if I forgot anybody in the group for the claps and stuff as you joined, I'm sorry. It's just sometimes I remember and hit the buttons.
Jupe said, I thought you quit smoking a few minutes ago.
I did, but I relapsed. Jupe, I did. I quit. I had a relapse moment, and it's your fault, Jupe. My support subscriber wasn't supporting me enough, and I had a relapse. Ha! That's okay, man. I forgive you this time, but we can't let that happen again. You gotta come through the TV screen and beat me upside the head with a guitar next time, Jude.
Tom Surfing Alien said you love giving the clap, don't you?
Yeah. It's all about the clap. We gotta go with the clap. Ha! It's all about the clap. Yeah, that's pretty funny. I haven't quit yet. I've been thinking about it. But I will say versus most of the time, I'm smoking less today than I have previously, if that makes sense. I think I'm going to have to at least, I smoke about a pack and a half now. So I need to at least get that down to about 3/4 of a pack before I quit. I'm going to try to wing myself off a little bit, if that makes sense.
Curtis Scale said you quit quitting.
Well, that's right. Because nobody likes a quitter. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Nobody likes a quitter. Come on, guys. I mean, that's like quit playing guitar. Come on, no one would like that. Uh. Yeah, now Jackie's talking about the IVLP with P90s for 133 on Amazon right now. Now, a guitar I have heard good things about, and every time it comes up on Amazon, they sell out quick. IYV makes that black Les Paul with the Floyd Rose bass tremolo, and I've heard really good things about that guitar. And it could be U2 pipe, I'm not sure, but I've heard that that's a quality instrument. I think that normally goes for about the 229 mark when they have it, and it's hard to find because when it comes back in stock, it's usually not there very long. And David says he's returned 3 IYV guitars. You know, there's only 2 or 3 channels that I watch that have covered IYV. One of those channels say nothing good, say everything good about them. Well, really all of them do. I haven't really run across a channel that has really said anything negative towards IYV. And that's why I've been wanting to do a review on one to kind of maybe slice through the YouTube muck. But I also hear the exact same thing when it comes to Leo James. And if you guys are familiar with this channel, Leo James, I think the 2 monsoons I had sounded great and they played okay. But for the dollar amount, they just weren't, the fretwork on those guitars. I don't want to say it's not worth the money. It is. It's only at the time it was $203. But for that same amount of money, there are other budget guitars that don't have the issues that the Leo James has or had. So I think when you weigh it out, the product versus money, Leo James just isn't there. There's other guitars out there that are making a better product for the same amount of money. I do want to review the new 4th generation Monsoon and see if they made changes. I may end up waiting because Leo James they just have fret leveling issues. I've yet to buy one of their guitars and then not have fret leveling issues. And it's not, their issues is they'll have low frets. It's not a high fret. You'll move the fret rocker from 21 to 22, and it'll rock on the 21st and the 22nd. Whenever you see a guitar that rocks and you move it 1 fret and it rocks in both spots from 21st to 22nd, the only way you can fix that is you've got to sand them all because that means you've got a low fret. That's a tattletale sign. If you end up with 1 fret and it's just rocking on that 1 fret and you shift to the next location and it doesn't rock, that means you have a high fret. You can fix that. But when it's back to back, fret to the next fret, that's bad. That's hard to fix without chewing up your brand new frets. Last thing you want to do is buy a new guitar and have to do a complete fret leveling. That takes a lot of life out of your guitar. Linnell just yelled in, but I cut it off when I was talking. Jupe's got a question. Avery, would you explain the headstocks? S with the degree and the slant on the guitars without a slant. Well, I think a lot of that, guys, if you're talking like a guitar like this, okay, you can see how this one pitches. All right. The reason they're doing this is there's a pitch in the nut, okay? And that pitch in the seat of the nut is pitched like this. So if the headstock come across like this, okay, the string comes across and then it has to pitch into the neck and then to the neck. And what ends up happening, you'll see that they actually did it on this guitar. See this full string tree? They're trying to compensate for the angle of that nut, okay, in relation to the hole in the tuning peg. If that angle isn't exactly matching the angle of the nut, when you tighten this nut down, it changes the pitch of your tuning. So you could be tuning your guitar, okay? You're tuning it. You're tuning your guitar. Okay, the thing's in the way. You're tuning your guitar. You get it right, and then you go to lock it down. As soon as you lock it down, the tune goes out. That means, one, your string tree here isn't adjusted right, and your string angle rate to the nut is wrong. So what a lot of companies do, they try to pitch that neck, okay, to get that rake angle to match the nut. On a regular guitar without a nut, some companies tend to say it prevents less slipping, okay? But at the same token, if you've got a tremolo, you want the guitar to slip a little bit. You want that string to be able to slide across. So it really depends on the type of guitar you're talking about. But most of them angle the nut because of this. If it doesn't have a locking nut, most guitars are straight back. I know some artists do like to pitch it just a little bit, and that's to allow this hole to align properly to the nut. And that's also why you'll have staggered tuning keys. They're staggering the tuning keys because the distance from your nut to the post will change the angle, okay? So they stagger the tuning keys to keep that angle consistent across all the strings. That's kind of how I see it. If someone else has a better way of, talking about neck angle, that's how I've always viewed it. I have guitars with both. I have guitars that offset, the neck, and it follows. And that offset makes a difference too. Like if this plane right here, okay, and you've got the exact same plane here, the distance as far as the height. Let me grab this other guitar. Hey, Short Bus, hold on. One for Short Bus. Okay, here's a guitar that does have the straight neck. See how this is parallel to this, okay? But the distance between here and here can change. The more offset you put to the nut, the more angle difference there is. Now you can see the angle from this string to this tuning key is much more abrupt than the angle down here. That's why they use string trees. They're trying to pull that string down to try to keep this rake angle on the strings consistent. Because technically, the more rake angle you have, the more the string is setting in the nut. So there's more of that nut material making contact to the string. Some people claim that needs to be consistent. That's why they want to keep this neck, this rake angle of the string consistent across all the strings. That way you have the same amount of contact surface area in the nut. So all those things make a difference, whether it's a locking nut or a bone or an artificial bone nut like this guitar has. To say one's better than the other, the only thing I've ever had a problem with is the Gibson LPs. And it's not necessarily this, it's the headstock shape on the LP. The upper two tuners up here, if you look at the string, this string will pass the second tuner, and it's so close to that tuning peg. I mean, so close to that tuning peg. I've actually seen people wind the strings to the inside, okay, to try to decrease the angle between here and the post on a Gibson, because the string ends up pitching out like this to the post. So they wind one of them backwards or something. I've never owned a Gibson Les Paul, but I've heard people talk about reversing the gear so they can wind that one string differently. And the tuning key still spins the same way. Or they put a left-handed tuning key on the right side so they can wind the string on the opposite direction. But yet it still tunes the same way. And that's all due to the angle of the string. But this one's going to be our next review, guys. I should plug this guitar in and play it a little bit. Why don't we do that real quick? I haven't played this guitar in about 2 weeks. Hold on for a second. All right, guys, I'm going to move my microphone over. Now, y'all been listening to the Kramer, and this is a completely different guitar. It has single coils, so of course it's going to sound a little thinner. So I'm going to move this microphone out of the way, and then we'll do some jamming on this one. Go up to our center position. Up to our neck position. Almost forgot I didn't have a stand for this guitar. I was getting ready to put it over on the stand. I'm like, wait a minute, there's already a guitar on the stand. But I like this guitar. It's got a really cool sound to it. But just so you guys know, 100% open and honest here, this guitar, the pickups, and I think it contributes to part of the sound. Hopefully you can hear it. I got this microphone still on. Check, check. they have a little bit of a microphonic tone to them. They do pick up your voice. That's center position, center, neck. So it just seems to be, the bridge pickup is microphonic, and it doesn't seem to do it too much in the center position. Check, 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 check. And in the neck position, check, 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 check. But in the bridge position, check, 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 check. It's kind of microphonic, just so you guys know.
Jerry said, have you ever thought about reviewing a Solar guitar?
Yes, I have thought about reviewing a Solar. Solar has a couple models I've thought about getting. When I order one, I think I'm going to get one with a Floyd Rose on it. I'm a Floyd Rose player, so I think the one I was looking at was like $350 for the Solar that I wanted. I've been kind of hoping that he would come out with some new colors. It seems like they're kind of stuck on black and white on the model that I was looking at. I was kind of hoping they would just come out with a red or maybe a blue or an orange, but it just seems like the model I was looking at was only offered in black and white, and I wanted to do something a little different. But yeah, I need to set up a poll or a way. See, the problem with setting up polls is I have to put in, what I think you guys would want to vote on, and I think I just need to set up a poll, or not really a poll, a comment on the community page. What guitar would you guys like to see? And everyone can post, I want to see a Solar, I want to see an LTD, I want to see, a Squire, or an IYV, or a Fold G, or whatever it may be. And then kind of the next order, I could just order whatever got the most, comments. If the most comments on Solar, I'll order a Solar. But keep in mind too, guys, when I order them, I do the review, do a setup, and then I have to sell them. So make sure y'all post things that you might be interested in purchasing later on down the road. Okay? It doesn't really matter how the guitar is when I receive it. When I go to sell the guitar, I guarantee you it's going to be 100% spot on. If not, and I receive the guitar and it's just non-fixable, I'm going to return it anyway. But I'm at least going to point out in the video, look, I got it, it's a broken body, the neck's broke, that's the end of it. But if I can review it, that means it's good, okay, it's playable. At the end of the review, I can do a fret level on it or whatever the guitar is to bring it up to a good standard, and then sell the guitar. And I have to do that to keep new instruments coming in. But as far as reviews, I probably have enough guitars to bury me for the next 6 months on guitar reviews. I really do. There's no shortage of guitars here to review that have not been reviewed. They're just waiting on review. I still got two. Well, the Squire's not in the box anymore, but I have another Squire waiting for a review as well. And the Jackson. They're brand new guitars. So I need to get those done. Stefan, I'm not this channel, Stefan made I'm not a great guitarist. This channel's not a demo channel. I don't proclaim to be a great guitarist. I try to do good reviews, and I appreciate you, saying, your comment. I mean, I try to be a good guitar player. And just like everybody else, we try to get better. Every time we pick up the instrument, we try to get better at playing. That's everyone's goal. When I think I've said this before, if you would have asked me 35 years ago, and showed me a video of me today, would you be happy playing like this? I would have probably said, oh yeah, man, if I could play like that, it'd be great. And then we get to the next point, and then we go, I want to be able to do this. So I think we're our own worst critic. When we get to that level that we thought we would be happy, now we want to be able to do this, or we want to do this style, or make this particular lead run happen. So we're always evolving and getting better. And then Jupe, she said, I got to read your comment. Yep, question marks. Just want to mention that when you did the premiere yesterday, it was cool. We could still interact with the questions while you played the video. Yeah, I think that's the way I want to move forward on the reviews. The only thing that I've seen since I set it up as a premiere, it would not let me alter the details window to set the chapters up. Okay? YouTube forced me to do the premiere, and then once it posted the video, okay, because it doesn't really post it, it's like a live show. So until it finishes the live stream of that premiere, I can't go in and do all the details as far as go to this point in the video if you want to watch the fret leveling, or go to this part of the video if you want to know the neck radius, or go to this part of the video if you want to look at the pickup readings. I did that earlier today. I went through, and there's 40 different chapters. I tried to do the most detail as far as the chapters. So when you go down to detail, every little thing that I go over, there's a chapter on it. If I'm going over the routing of the body, I'm going over the routing of the pickups, I'm going over the tuning keys, I'm going over the neck, I'm going over the readings I read from the multimeter on the pickups, I'm going over the jack, whatever it may be. I tried to make a chapter of it. The largest chapters are the demo, because I just put clean tones, dirty tones, and then, death metal tones. So they're the largest chapters because I'm just going over all the clean tones for like 10 minutes. I've been trying to do a little bit more review as far as tones. I know not everyone plays with distortion, so I tried to do some clean, some dirt, some heavy dirt. It just takes so much time to do a review like that. Plus, if you pay attention to all the little pictures that I posted, everything I talk about that I think needs a picture, that the camera angle, me sitting back here showing it, doesn't do it justice, I go back and I take photos of every part of the guitar and I post those up. And if you want, you can just pause the video and you can look when I'm showing the strings go down the neck, how the neck is set. I'm showing the route and the pickup. All those little things, you can pause the video and get a really good idea of what the product is. And I constantly got better. If you look at my very first review versus the next review versus once I got to about the 10th guitar review, I pretty much had my system down. And I've continued to add things, but I'm about at the limit as far as what I can do in an hour and 20 minutes. I just find it more interesting to show me checking the fret radius versus going, okay, this is the fret radius. No, I did not detect any bad frets. No, the jack doesn't match the guitar perfectly. I think it's better to actually look at it live for the first time and go, hey, here's an issue. This is an issue. Show the picture. Check the frets. Because you get an instant reaction. If I review a guitar and the frets are bad, you can tell at the end whether it was bad, or just kind of bad. I've done some reviews that's like, whew, this guitar is awful on the fret leveling, because I'd never checked it before. I didn't know. So I'm live on camera and I'm doing this, and my reaction should give the audience a clue on, hey, this isn't faring too well for this instrument. So I like doing that. I don't like to chop all that out and just post the specs. I think the discovery and looking at the guitar and all that, it's like a little adventure that we're going through. That's what I'm trying to achieve. Yeah, Yeah, Jupe and Kurt Insko. That's the way we're going to do it. It'll probably be. I'm going to guess it's going to take me 3 weeks to do the next review for the Squire. So on Friday nights, we may end up doing something different. Maybe just go back to the test live stream thing on Friday nights. But Friday nights will be the premieres. Unless we want to do it another night. Excuse me, as far as YouTube's concerned, the best night for me to do reviews and post them, believe it or not, it's Tuesday nights. I've done a lot of different posting, and it seems like Tuesday nights seem to do really well. Friday nights, as far as YouTube activity and views, are probably the worst night for me to post. And that's probably just due to larger channels putting out content, if that makes sense. They're going to push their content over mine. But Tuesday night seems to work the best as far as viewership's concerned, or new viewers. So I'll go back to the chat here. Stephen, yeah. We're all musicians, Stephen, man. Don't worry about it. You know, I was always pretty fortunate when I was out playing. I was always around guitar players that were far, far superior to me, whether it was their picking technique, um, their general playing style, the amount of music that they had retained and knew. My struggling thing when I was playing live was remembering. And it's not that I didn't know the song. I had played those songs 50, 60 times. And I knew the set list. But there would be a night where you'd put the set list up and here comes the fourth song. I thought, and I mean, I'd be like, it's a fourth song set list. I played this set list 20 times. And I'd be like a deer in the headlights going, how's that song go? And I couldn't even think of the melody in my head. I'm like, I've played this song 100 times. But you can't even think of the first note. That would happen to me quite often. The retention of knowing all the different songs that you're playing, and it's not that you didn't know it, because as soon as you heard the first note, bam, you're like, oh, that's right. It goes, and then you were fine. But that happened to me a lot. Just remembering that, and I remember seeing other musicians. Well, I don't have a problem with that, and they would know 7, 8 set lists. And there might be 12 songs on one of those set lists. And you could pick their set list and go play this. And bam, they would go right to it. They didn't even hesitate. You go to their 8th set list, pick the 12th song. They go right to it and play it, no problem. Their retention and the ability to retain all that fresh in their head, that, in my opinion, is the difference between the level of a musician that I was and the true professional musicians that were out playing when I was playing. The true professional musicians just had a natural gift to have retention on all that. Whether it was the music, the setup, what the sound guy wanted, how to set up the mic, how to talk to the crowd. Like I said earlier, there was more to it than playing. And the people that went on to do great things that I had blessed enough to play with, they had all those. They had all those little things checked on their list. And they were phenomenal at all of them. You know. And there were some of them I knew that were phenomenal all of them and still didn't technically make it. But some of them did. And kudos to them. So I'll go back to the chat. Hey guys, I'm late, but I made it. Hey, Mr. Devastator. There you go. So I don't know how many people still in the chat. I can't see the window. I'm going to open it up here and try to scroll. Yeah, so that was just how the issues that I had when I was playing out live. I don't know if you guys ever had that issue, but it would happen to me at least, I'm going to say once or twice a month, where, you knew the set list. But you would look down the set list, and even before you started, I would always glance down the set list, and I had an ART X15 floor controller, and I had banks set up. I'm like, okay, and I had a little note on my set list. I need to be on bank 5. So the first thing I'd do is I'd reach down, I'd hit bank 5, and I knew bank 5 had the 10 or 15 sounds that I needed for lead, rhythm, whatever I was doing, and it was marked, okay, on by the song. You're going to use preset 25 and then switch to lead, or I had a wah, you know, and I had all that labeled. Now, I would glance to make sure I was set for this particular set list. You get to, like I say, the fourth, fifth song, or maybe even the second song, and it'd be like a deer in the headlights. You're like, oh my gosh, how does this song go? And what was bad was if I was the starting guitarist on one of those songs, that had happened. And I remember looking around, because I was considered the rhythm guitar player. I remember looking over at Mike going, I got nothing. I got nothing. And Mike would know. When I'd go like that, he would go, okay. And by the time he got to the second note, I'm like, got it. But at that point, I had already kind of screwed up. But the people in the audience didn't know that. I would just kind of look at Mike. They just thought I was like laughing at someone in the crowd or something. But Mike knew, oh, he's forgotten whatever it is. I just need to play the first couple notes. We would just reverse. Mike would always come in maybe a measure or a bar behind. So I would do the exact same thing. And that's what you get as a group. You start to figure one another out. You get past that.
Jupe said, I was astounded when I first come across your channel, doing reviews, being so thorough. I hit subscribe button immediately, and now the live streams make it even better.
Well, thanks, Jupe. The better half come out and read your comment. I wanted my reviews to be different because I was on Amazon. I'm looking at these guitars. I'm like, wow. I went to YouTube and I'm checking out all these reviews, and everyone was just talking all these great things. And I said, well, I need to start a channel that's going to show these cheaper instruments and be, I can contribute to this. As a woodworker, I think I can do content that'll be relatable. And there'll be enough people out there that want the meat, I'll call it the meat and the potatoes type review, where it's not just look at the guitar, it looks beautiful, play it, and end. So I try to cater to that audience. Like what we were saying earlier, stuff and talking about the guitar playing. I know my strengths and my weaknesses. And maybe one day my guitar playing will be my strength. I hope it will be. I strive to be a much better guitar player. But my strength is, being able to analyze these guitars. And I've played enough guitars, and I've played out live. I'll know if the guitar's going to have issues playing out live. Like last night's stream, someone mentioned, well, you didn't go over the push-pull. Well, yeah, I didn't go over the push-pull. But I meant to say something in the end comments. The splitting the coils on this pickup, you could not do live. You're going to lose so much gain and so much volume that you're going to have a floor pedal on the floor to add as a boost to go into it. So you couldn't be playing, reach down, pull this. Your volume's just going to drop. And the sound guy, everyone's just going to holler at you. So this particular guitar, whatever's going on with the way they've got the coil split set up, there's just too much. Now, I know your coil split, you always lose a little bit of sound. You can deal with that. This one is significant. Let me plug it in. I'll show you guys how much of a coil split drop there is. Okay. I'm going to move the microphone again. And we're checking for coil split. Volume drop in the coil split. Miss fret. Still in the cool split. Back to the humbucker. Guys, the more I play that $200 guitar with this is a non-locking bridge. I, I mean, honesty. My review, I tuned this guitar twice. At the beginning of the demo and once halfway through the demo. And I used the bar a lot. There's proof. I just beat the piss out of the tremolo on this guitar. I beat the piss out of it. It's still in tune. And this is a cheap guitar. This is a $200 guitar. This is the first $200 guitar that I didn't set it up. Now, I'm not saying that they don't exist. After you set them up, this is out of the box. It did that. They nailed the nut filing and the spring tension and stuff on this guitar from Firefly. Every time I play it, I have a tendency of forgetting that it's not a locking bridge. The darn thing works so darn good. It's actually kind of stupid crazy how good the thing works. I can't get over how good the basic tremolo works on it. It's crazy.
Juke says, how much do covered pups affect tone as opposed to non-covered?
Let me see, Juke. How much do you covered pups affect the tone? You know, that's something as far as covers on pickups. I hear some people say it makes a difference. Some people don't make a difference. I'm sure it makes a difference. Me personally, I haven't been able to really detect it. I will say this. I've got my mic set up where it works. Okay. I guarantee you, if I move that microphone 1 inch, just 1 inch, if I just move it up an inch, you will hear such a drastic tone difference that it's crazy. If I showed you a Seymour Duncan JB that was covered or uncovered, and you plugged them up back to back, just the amount of time it took to unplug the guitar and plug it back up, maybe a super seasoned musician could tell the difference, but it's not going to be like moving that microphone just 1 inch. That's what I'm saying. Your amp and how you set up your microphone, believe me, that makes so much more difference on your tone than your pickup. Not saying your pickup doesn't have anything to do with it. That's the microphone that's picking up the strings on your guitar. But when you talk about replacing a set of pickups, and you've already got decent pickups, and you're going to rip those out and put $300 in pickups, and you're out playing live, it might be better for you to get a better microphone for your cabinet or a better IR post-process if you're going direct front of house. It might be better to do that and tweak that section of your sound. I think you're going to get far better end results for dollars spent versus the pickups. But I think there's a place for all of them. I have guitars that have covered pickups. I have guitars that don't have covered pickups. My hollow body has covered pickups. This guitar has covered pickups. My Firefly Les Paul has covered pickups. This Squire has the one lipstick pickup in the top, which is covered. The rest of them, I believe, are open. No, my Squire M80 Custom Shop has covered pickups. I think the rest of them are open bobbin pickups. I'm not too sure on that, but I'm pretty sure they are. Yeah, Devastated. The one reason I love visiting up north would be to move there, and that's the lack of.
They were talking about snow.
Oh, yeah, lack of snow. Yeah, I'm kind of in the in-between zone. We get a little bit of both. We get the heat and the snow. And then stuff, and cheap guitars are so different now, so much better. Oh yeah, back, when I was learning, a $400, $500 guitar really didn't get you much. It really didn't. Nowadays, a $400 and $500 guitar gets you a lot. Gets you a lot of guitar.
far more than it did back when I was, 16, 17, and 18. That's for sure. And Mikey, is this FJ French's channel? I don't know. That one went over my head. I'm sorry. My little squirrel brain couldn't figure that one out. JJ French's. Okay, I get it. Who was it made a comment the other week? Spinal Tap. I was playing. They said, "Oh, Spinal Tap." I'm like, okay, I get it. You know. But hopefully you guys got a good, decent sound out of that Squire. And I made the comment before. I think that little bit of microphonic tone quality that bridge pickup has, when you mix that with the center pickup, the guitar just has a sound that I really like. I can't put my finger on it. There was one other guitar that did that, and I ended up selling it. I kind of regret selling it. If you guys look back on my channel, I did a review of the Firefly Mad Cat. There was just something about that guitar and the sound that thing made. Whoever wound those pickups, I'm sure they were wound at a price point. But they happened to just hit the nail right on they hit it. There was something about the sound, and putting the same pickup in different guitars, they could sound different. That particular pickup and that particular guitar with the laminate tops and stuff, it just had something. And I go back and I look at that review and I listen to that guitar, it just had a sound. It really did. And this guitar reminds me of that. That the bobbin, the way they did the bobbin on the bridge pickup, yeah, it is a little microphonic, and it may cause you a problem on stage. But I think it gives it the charm, that chime sound, when you add that bridge pickup in. And it still has enough bite. You guys heard it. It's got a lot of bite. I got no issues at all playing it. And I've always wanted a Strat, but I never keep a Strat because of the volume knob. And when I saw this, I'm like, well, it's got the Telecaster electronics in it. I'm not going to be hitting the volume knob. So I'm gonna buy that. And I actually think that guitar is going to stay here. I don't know if Fender ever made a Fender American version of the Nashville Tele or not. I would be really curious to see if they did and try to find one and play it. But this one here is nice. I had no issues with it. I might get a hold of that Dylan Talks Tone and just kind of bounce some ideas off him on getting some pickups and load it up and really make me a Strat that I'll keep forever. I'll go back here and I'll look at the chat here. Yeah, the humidity, I lived in the South for a while, and the humidity down there was awful. I mean, when I say it was awful in the South, it was awful in the South. I remember taking a bath and walking out, and just walking between the house and the car, I already felt like I needed a bath again due to the humidity. It was awful. All right, guys. I hate to say it, but we've been on for probably, I don't know how long we've been on now. But I think my voice is about shot, so we've got to be at the 2.5 hour mark by now. So I want to thank everybody that supports the channel, that comes in here and hangs out, on Saturday night with me. You guys are great. And everyone that really watches the reviews and stuff that the channel posts, it means a lot to me when you guys go back and you comment and stuff. It really does. It means the world to me. And doing this Saturday night thing it's really taught me, it's given me an outlet to be able to play and talk to other musicians. And hopefully you guys feel the same way. It's been really cool.
Mikey asks, is that a Twisted Sister pin on your uniform?
A Twisted Sister, this right here. And this is swag. If you can, so let me move the this is the swag that will probably not get to you guys just simply due to cost. We did print some shirts and stuff. I'll turn around so you guys can kind of see the back of the shirt. It just not cost effective for a t-shirt. I would have to be at the like $22.50 or $25 a shirt to even be able to send it to you. So we just didn't make any more. I think the company did a great job doing them. I just, unless I find a different vendor that can do up the shirts for me, we're going to be holding off on it. Unless someone can find a place that can do a good quality t-shirt, something that you can wash and wash and wash, it's not going to fall apart. Good quality shirt and a decent screen printing price. If I could find another place and we can get that price point down, I'd be all about making some t-shirts so you guys can get some t-shirts. I'd be good with that.
Jupe said this is so cool. Keep doing the live streams.
Yeah, we are. We're going to keep doing the live streams. I don't know if I'll be able to do 2 live streams a week, but Saturday night will definitely be the live stream night. And for right now, as we're still growing and I'm learning how to set up the equipment, Friday night will be our test streams, and we'll also do our premieres and stuff like that. So, like, I look forward to this all week long when I'm working. I'm thinking my little gears are turning. What do I need to do? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? So I look forward to it. I really do. All right, guys. Everyone be safe this week, and I'll see you all this coming Friday night. Everybody have a good remainder of the day, depending on where you're at, and a good Sunday and a safe week, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye, guys.